Hi, I'm Rob London, or actually Rob's avatar, and managing partner and senior consultant at Coffee Cat Solutions. This tutorial is on using risk assessments and risk management to improve project outcomes. The goal of the tutorial is to increase your awareness as to why risk assessments and risk management decreases project problems and is a good project practice regardless of the project management framework being used. This tutorial is an updated presentation I gave at the University of Maryland's Project Management Symposium on May 2, 2025. To set the stage, risk assessments are one tool in the risk management toolkit, and, unlike risk and issue logs, which may be created in a haphazard and reactive way, risk assessments use a structured process to create a proactive and comprehensive view of a project's risks and challenges. So, let's get started. Here's me on my project manager journey. A while back, my contract work changed from new projects to being hired as the second or third project manager to fix troubled projects. One day, I was brought in to restructure a project that was delayed by 2 years. After stabilizing the project, operations installed the first release, which failed due to a missing security file. Not a big deal to fix, but 2,000 people were not going to be able to access the application that day unless we fixed the install. So, I met with the CIO and asked for a reinstall. He says, "Don't worry, we'll fix it tomorrow." I asked about fixing it today. His response was that the whole department was on an outing in Baltimore for the circus. Can you guess what I was thinking? I freaked out and took the blame for the release's failure. I thought, how did the project get into this situation? And, it was this situation that got me using risk assessments to better manage my projects. Today, radical changes in technology and society are increasing the challenges IT faces. Risk management and risk assessments are a structured way to help you plan and manage project uncertainty and problems. Let's look at the topics in this tutorial. First, we will review the common risks projects experience. Then we will discuss if risk assessments are effective and why they work to improve project performance. Next, we'll do a quick review of the risk management cycle and the creation and execution of rapid risk assessments. Capping off the tutorial, we will look at how risk assessments improve project resilience, and the resistance you might experience when trying to do a risk assessment. Last, a couple of key takeaways from the tutorial will be emphasized. My definition of risk is simple. It's a bad event. Maybe it has happened already, or will happen. But when it does happen, it will disrupt the project and needs mitigation. This definition puts the risks and issue logs together in one place. It's a more flexible definition that allows you to summarize on a continuum all the challenges and impacts a project faces. According to the 2020 Chaos Report, which has tracked IT project performance since the 1990s, 31% of projects are successful. 50% of projects go over budget and/or schedule. Not a failure but not a success either. And 19% are cancelled entirely. Despite decades of project failure analysis, we still hear that 40 to 60% of projects have serious problems or fail. When it comes to AI projects, the reported problem and failure rate is higher. My conclusion is that there are a lot of project risks and issues that are not getting onto the logs for mitigation. Here are some of the most common project problems identified in the IT literature over the past 20 years grouped into technical, process, and people risk cubes. The issues I see most often are poor design and high defect rates and rework, bad requirements or stories, missed milestones, bad project processes, and lack of testing. And project managers and/or executive sponsors ignoring risks altogether. I found a PMI article by Craig Mortons titled Wither Risk Management? From 2012. He makes 3 observations. People do not understand risk management or its processes. People are scared of what they will find with risk management. And many of us identify risks, bring them to our sponsors and are told that won't happen and not given the resources to manage the risks. Technology can be changed, processes can be changed, but I believe that changing human behavior is the most challenging and the highest risk for a project. Not all project problems make it onto the risk and issue logs. There are, what I call invisible risks, that rarely get tracked, but quietly derail projects. Examples of invisible risks that negatively impact a project are dysfunctional project teams, poor communication, poor decision-making, filtering or withholding information, office politics, egos, or personal agendas. Invisible risks are the most complex and difficult to manage. Project managers rarely address these issues, but, since they have a critical impact on a project, they must be mitigated. Risk assessments can help identify and mitigate these issues and will be discussed in the upcoming slides. So, are risk assessments and risk management effective? The answer is yes. The Standish Group finds that risk management is effective in reducing project failures, and provides a significant ROI and cost benefit for the effort. But, why are risk assessments effective? First, assessments motivates action and accountability through risk transparency. Fact-based decision-making is supported through continuous risk analysis. Project resilience is improved through stakeholder engagement, with collaboration leading to project agility and openness to change. Defects decrease by keeping the team focused solving identified problems throughout the project and not just at the end when user testing occurs. And finally, risk assessments build trust through information sharing, which builds stakeholder confidence in the project. Risk assessments aren't just about preventing bad outcomes, it's about creating the conditions for success. Risk assessments and risk management frameworks create a consistent repeatable process to identify, analyze, and mitigate risks. A common risk management cycle consists of the following processes: plan, identify, analyze, mitigate, monitor, and control and iterate. Iteration means doing risk analysis on a weekly basis and providing feedback to the team and management. This slide shows some of the commonly used risk management frameworks. Risk management standards are not static but continue to evolve. Standards change to address emerging technical, ethical, compliance, legal, and security challenges. If you're implementing AI in your organization, you might want to look at PMI's CPMI framework or NIST's AI risk management frameworks. PMI's risk management standard is a useful guide in that it lists over 50 qualitative and quantitative tools for collecting and analyzing risk data. Risk assessments are valuable in exposing poor project decisions, negative project trajectories, and identifying flawed implementation processes. Risk assessments can be rapid and either qualitative or quantitative, but they don't need to be complex. The diagram shows 3 common types of assessments that many of us have used or encountered. The independent verification and validation or 4 and 5, which examines if a project's products are being built to specifications. The project assurance assessment, which evaluates if a project is on track. And the project risk assessment, which reviews if key risks and mitigations for a project have been identified and addressed. Risk assessments provide a more dynamic, detailed, and real-time understanding of a project's risk profile than risk and issue logs. But, before looking at how to perform a rapid risk assessment, let's look at some characteristics to consider. Risk assessment questions change with the type of project. For example, COTS business implementations, data warehouse projects, infrastructure projects, and AI projects ask different risk questions. To perform risk management effectively, you need to implement a risk management framework for risk analysis, response consistency, and repeatability within a project and across projects. Risk assessments should be iterative and performed weekly to catch project problems proactively and implement mitigations. Last, many risk management advocates suggest that an independent risk manager, PMO, or even an audit team, should perform project assessments and not the project manager. Project reviewers that are external to the project and its team will hopefully be insulated from organizational bias, politics, and pressures to suppress negative, but important, project risk information. I use a rapid risk assessment that covers 35 categories across technical, people, and process areas. It merges the important questions from all 3 assessment types previously discussed into one assessment. The rapid risk assessment consists of 4 parts. 1. An electronic survey of the project team, stakeholders, and sponsors. 2. In-person interviews with select stakeholders to collect sensitive project viewpoints. 3. A deliverables evaluation that looks at such project products as work plans, requirements documents, and test cases. And 4. An optional technical evaluation if other findings point to architecture, infrastructure, or security issues. All survey answers are anonymous and use a 5-point Likert response scale. The collected data is normalized, analyzed, and the results posted on a dashboard for weekly progress tracking. Important benefits of this type of risk assessment include that it is quick to perform, allows for follow-up, and is easy to make findings transparent. This diagram shows the steps to perform a rapid risk assessment. There are modified workflows for the interview, deliverables, and architecture assessments. Let's click through the steps. 1. Create or select questions from a bank of questions based on the type of project, project management framework, phase, activities being assessed for risks. 2. Create surveys for stakeholders and email them out with instructions after an organization introduction email is distributed. 3. Analyze results and if appropriate use statistics. 4. Assign priorities to risks and develop mitigation recommendations. And 5. Distribute reports and then start the process over to track improvements. Risk assessments can be simple and quick to perform, but a powerful tool to keep a project on track. Given the increasing use of AI, I thought a few slides on AI project risks would be of interest. AI projects are different from traditional coding, COTS, or infrastructure projects in that they are data-driven, have a unique life cycle with activities, tasks, and risks that need phase-related reviews. AI projects are very different from the IT projects most of us are used to. 80% of an AI project revolves around data engineering and validating the AI model. Risk assessments for AI projects are therefore centered around managing the uncertainty in the quality of data, proper data transformation, using data to train the AI model, and testing a model's outputs in an environment that is similar to, or same as, the real-world environment it is to operate within. Let's take a look at PMI's CPMI AI Project Management Framework. CPMI stands for Cognitive Project Management for AI. This management framework has 6 development phases. Phase 1 defines the business needs case for using AI versus more traditional data processing approaches, and the project's cost and ROI. Phase 2 is the data understanding phase, which details the AI model's data needs for training, data sources, and starts the identification of the AI model to be used. Phase 3 is the data preparation activity which collects, stages, and transforms data that will be used to train the AI model. Phase 4 modifies the AI model, if needed, and trains and tunes the AI model. Phase 5 is the quality control phase that assesses if the model can produce the desired output under controlled conditions, and whether the model can produce the desired output in a real-world environment. Phase 6 operationalizes the model by putting the model, along with necessary interfaces, security, databases, ETL/ELT programs, infrastructure, and governance scaffolding in place for the AI model to work. The CPMI cycle is iterative, since data drift and model drift require that the model be retuned and possibly modified to ensure it produces quality response. Again, note that an AI project's risk assessments questions change with each AI development phase. There is no doubt that AI is revolutionary, rapidly evolving, and is being adopted across all aspects of society including industry, science, medicine, the arts, and education. The basic benefits commonly discussed are: AI saves time and effort by performing human physical labor and office tasks. AI is useful for data analysis and assessing standards and regulatory compliance. AI can generate new written, art, and music content. But, AI has unique and some serious development and operations challenges and risks. Examples of AI issues that can lead to false predictive behavior are: data inadequacy, model and data drift, data insecurity, bias and hallucinations, misuse such as deepfakes and misinformation, and copyright infringement. Monitoring and mitigating these issues are required to avoid a failed AI implementation and avoid negative performance outcomes that can create legal, customer service, and operations problems. Since AI can generate outputs that are inaccurate, risk assessments are critical to avoid releasing a sociopathic AI. Everyday news stories emerge of crazy AI behavior. Here are just a few examples where things went sideways. April 2025, Colorado federal judge considering disciplining MyPillow CEO lawyers for creating a legal brief using AI that was full of misquotes, miscited cases, and references to cases that do not exist. June 2024. McDonald's shut down its AI drive-thru ordering system since it got too many orders wrong. One customer got 9 sweet teas. April 2024. Elon Musk's shy chatbot falsely accused NBA star Klay Thompson of vandalizing homes in Sacramento. Totally fabricated. November 2023. A lot of us read about Sports Illustrated being outed for using AI to write sports stories with made-up authors. The CEO got fired and ruined the magazine's 70-year reputation. February 2024. 14-year-old Sewell Setzer committed suicide at the prompting by the chatbot from Character AI. There are multiple examples of AI giving incorrect and potentially dangerous AI physical and mental health advice. December 2023. A dealership's chatbot got duped into selling a $76,000 Tahoe for a $1. These risks are not going away, at least at the time of this tutorial writing. But, if these project teams were performing risk assessments, testing, and ethical oversight to the degree necessary for their applications, they might have been able to avoid these AI performance problems, loss of reputation, and in a couple of cases lawsuits. For anyone interested in AI risk governance policies, I recommend Internal Policies for Artificial Intelligence Risk Management by Charles Wood, published in 2024. Gen AI is a term for applications that sit on top of AI models that open up the power of AI without the need for being a programmer or understanding how AI works. It's this capability that is opening up AI to being applied to risk management and assessment problems. So, what are the implications of AI for risk assessments and risk management? Auditors, project managers, and risk professionals are all exploring the use of Gen AI to accelerate such activities as risk data collection, risk identification, risk mitigation, compliance analysis, financial analysis, and report generation. Here's an example of a simple Gen AI application designed to assess project issues and recommend risk mitigations. Let's walk through the process. 1. Perform a risk analysis as discussed, and put the results in an Excel worksheet. 2. Load the Excel into ChatGPT. 3. Load an accumulated case database into ChatGPT to be used for comparative and predictive analysis, and execute analysis prompts. 4. ChatGPT generates the risk assessment and mitigation matrix. 5. Review and validate results and have ChatGPT generate a risk report. While there are a variety of commercial AI-powered risk assessment products hitting the market is fluid and evolving. If these products are of interest, it's best to do a product search for applications that meet your specific needs and test them out. Let's get back to how risk assessments and management builds project resilience and improves project outcomes. Resilience refers to the ability of a project to adapt and recover from unexpected disruptions. Examples of disruptions are loss of development environments and work, loss of project staff, budget changes, scope changes, needing to do extensive rework due to high defects, or cyber attacks. How much money and time would be saved, and stakeholder acceptance improved, through early risk proactive identification and mitigation. Project resilience can be built through good project governance and processes. Examples of resilience building strategies, some of which have already been mentioned, include continuous risk monitoring for early identification and solutioning, weekly risk improvement reviews for transparency and decision-making, contingency and incident planning to anticipation and rapid response, escalation processes creating transparent and rapid response, stakeholder training to improve participation, communication, and collaboration, recovery architectures, such as versioning applications, backup and recovery, disaster recovery, and failover capabilities. These strategies create conditions for projects to be successful, and for people to work together. Decades of research shows that projects tend to deny, avoid, ignore, and delay dealing with risk. Instinctual human nature, perhaps. Once, I presented a negative risk assessment to a super nice CIO in his office. The project's integrator was using an unorthodox agile approach, putting his project on a negative trajectory. I thought we had a good working relationship, and I did a great job documenting that the budget would triple using the integrator's just out-of-the-box functionality approach. The CIO politely thanked me, and put the risk analysis in his desk drawer. It never saw daylight again. He seemed to prefer protecting the vendor and his reputation more than the project, or his company's investment. Often risk assessments are viewed as a threat and meet with resistance from project teams, project managers, executive sponsors, and product owners. Experienced project managers may use risk assessments to help them leverage change, or at least make risks transparent to executives, so they are not blamed for negative project outcomes. Usually, stakeholders welcome project assessments. If they don't, that's a warning sign. Steering committees, on the other hand, can be pro, con, or neutral depending on their level of project accountability, personalities, organizational dynamics, or relationship with executive project sponsor. Identifying sources and types of resistance is important in developing strategies for mitigation. Here are some common types of resistance I encounter. Fear. This is when people try to avoid bad press for poor performance. My solution is to use information transparency, staffing replacements, and enlisting executive supporters to implement change. Avoidance. This is when people steer clear of any situation that might slow down the project. One solution is information transparency and steering committee input to help mitigate risks that are being ignored. Politics and other organizational pressures can influence project decisions that have nothing to do with project. Enlisting executive sponsors, or other executives on the steering committee, may help to mitigate this situation. Egos and personalities can result in personal goals taking precedence over the well-being of a project's success. This is a difficult situation to resolve. You can try information transparency, executive supporters, but often the best solution is a staff replacement. Poor knowledge of risk management of the project team is easy to spot, and can be mitigated through training and use of an external risk manager. Poor risk management practices are also easy to spot and should be mitigated through training and adoption of a risk management framework. Working with the PMO or audit team can help facilitate the adoption and implementation process. Lack of financial support for the funding and use of risk management and assessments usually results when management doesn't see the value. Risk management education that uses quantitative cost-benefit and ROI analyses can create convincing arguments that result in allocation of fund for risk management. So, what happens when you can't overcome resistance? Here's an experience I had several years ago that taught me an important lesson. I was having lunch with an auditor friend who had just announced he had taken another job. When I asked why, his response was the financial director didn't act on his recommendations on implementing financial controls for fear of highlighting poor decision-making. My auditor friend was happy about the job change. However, subsequent external audit of the department highlighted the same financial control problems identified by my friend, resulting in the director being forced to retire. The lesson: you can run but you can't hide. There are a variety of strategies I cycle through when dealing with resistance. Finding what works depends on the nature of the project team, organization's culture, and stakeholder viewpoints. However, you often need to find strategies that meet the unique circumstances of your project. Here are my go-to strategies that I first try. Enlist advocates that can show how risk assessments support business success. Implement a risk framework. Educate and train stakeholders on value and methods of risk assessments to improve risk awareness and gain process acceptance. Include risk management activities into the project plan. Use data-supported assessments when presenting reports. This ends the tutorial, and here are a couple of key takeaways for you to consider. Risk assessments and risk management does work to improve project outcomes by early identification and mitigation of risks and issues. Risk assessments can meet with resistance. You may have to lobby and educate all project stakeholders to show the value of risk assessments and get support to integrate risk management processes into the project's work plan. Use risk assessment data in reports and dashboards to drive data-driven decisions, improve decision-making accountability, and facilitate the initiation of risk mitigation actions. Last, explore using AI for risk assessments and management. This is not an easy task, since there is a lot of hype and lots to learn, but it's a technology that will continue to develop and be deployed over time. This brings us to the end of our time together. Thanks for taking time to be with us, and we hope you found the information useful. Visit coffeecatsolutions.com for more tutorials, or to use the contact form on our website to send us questions, inquiries, or comments. Again, thanks for being with us for this tutorial.